sind hier im Dialog im Dunkeln in Hamburg, eine Ausstellung, in der es nichts zu sehen gibt, denn hier erfährt man einmal, wie es sein kann, Alltagssituationen aus der Sicht eines Blinden zu erleben. Und natürlich arbeiten hier auch blinde Menschen und im Moment findet hier das internationale Meeting statt, denn Dialog im Dunkeln gibt es in über 20 Nationen. Und das war für uns einmal ein Grund, einmal verschiedene blinde Menschen aus verschiedenen Nationen zu ihrer Lebenssituation zu befragen. Wie ist das alltägliche Leben von blinden Menschen, zum Beispiel in Mexiko? So I welcome Pepe Macias, better known as Pepe.
Yes, thank you very much.
But would you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, well, my name is Pepe. I am from Monterrey, which is in the north part of Mexico. I am totally blind since 24 years ago, and I work for Dialog in the Dark International since 8 years. That's my.
You said you become blind later. But how did your parents deal with your blindness?
Well, it was very difficult because I was 6 years old and I got leukemia, so that's why I got blind. I think that at the beginning they were more worried about leukemia because I was about to die, really. So they really take care of leukemia first, and then they really try to do their best to have my sight back, but it was not possible. There was some blood that went into my retina. So what they did, I think what they did was wonderful. They immediately asked the doctors, like, where can we send this boy to the school, you know, instead of having me at home. They really look for education opportunities for me. So I went to the school for the blind for a couple of years, and then I joined the regular school. So they really treated me as a regular person, as a person with no disability since the beginning.
That sounds good. Let's talk a little bit about the daily life of blind people in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
How does the supply of technical or other ads like white canes, screen reading programs, braille displays and other things for the blind or visually impaired look like in your country?
Okay, so the use of white cane is very well spread in Mexico. There are many blind persons using white canes in the streets. Regarding other technologies like computer or phones, there was a boom in Mexico. You know, I think 10 years ago, it was almost impossible to see a blind person using a computer or a mobile phone. But since some years ago, it's very popular. I mean, I wouldn't say that every blind person, but many blind persons have access to a computer with screen readers and to phones. So it's great because now you see persons having radio shows online. You see people, blind people having blog and I mean, really the blind community is becoming very active online, you know, thanks to these technologies.
Are there any subsidies for the blind and for the technical ads in Mexico?
Not at all. Not at all. In Mexico, when you are blind or you have a disability, the government gives you money, but it's very little money. It's like 35 euros per month. So in Mexico, you do nothing with that. I mean, you can go shopping and get your grocery, and that's all. But there are no helps for the moment.
Okay. In your home country, is there something similar to the mobility training here in Germany, in which a special trainer shows blind or visually impaired people how to use the white cane? and shows them the important paths, for example, to the supermarket and so on?
I would say that in some cities, only in some cities, but I can say that if we ask the many blind Mexican persons, they learn by themselves. I mean, most of the mobility training with the white cane is do it in a very informal way. I mean, you have another blind person teaching you, or a friend who can show you which are the best ways to go to work or to school. And as I told you, there are some schools in some cities that they have trainers which are really prepared to teach you how to use the white cane and how to orientate yourself. But there are also the cases where you have some associations and they have one person who is training you for orientation mobility, but they are not really trainers. I mean, there's one blind person that he or she knows how to move in the street, so they teach. But official trainers, let's say, there are very few.
Mm. How do sighted people in your country treat the visually impaired or blind people? Are they rather helpful, easygoing, or let's say rather reserved, or do they even behave in an unfriendly manner?
They are usually very helpful. Of course, many of them, they have no idea how to approach a blind person, how to help a blind person, but they do it. I mean, I think that the Latin culture is very, how to say, is always ready to give a hand, you know? So, really most of the time when I'm walking in the street or when I go into the metro or something, I can find a person who is helping to whatever. I mean, to cross the street, to find some place. So I wouldn't say that people is not really aware like what is blindness, how to help out blind people, but they have a positive attitude. So most of the time they really help.
And do you think that the visually impaired in Mexico are well integrated into society, or are there situations in which you feel more restricted?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that blind people is well integrated. I think there is a lot to do yet. You can have very good examples of blind people who are working in some companies, or blind people who is studying at university, some others that are having social life. I mean, they're going to the cinema, shopping or something. Each time it's becoming more usual to see blind persons participating in society, but there is still very big space for improvement, especially in the working sector. As a blind person, it's very hard to get a job. I mean, there are some persons with different disabilities that they get a job easier than a blind person. I mean, if you are a wheelchair user, or even if you have some mental disability, it's easier to find a job. So I think that in that regard, there is still a lot to do. But regarding education, I think it's really improving.
Okay. What would you wish for the future of your country regarding integration or inclusion? Is there anything that should change in future?
That's a good question. Yes, I think there are many things to improve. But some of the urgent things, I would say, it's maybe public transport. At least my city, Monterrey, is a city that it has some areas which are not easy to reach by public transport. and the public transport service is not very good for blind people. So I think that public transport is really an urgent topic, and I think the access to education, I mean, each time it's easier and easier to have the access to education, but there are some other sources of education, like, how to say, diplomas, courses, some other kind of informal education which is not really open yet to blind people. So I think that it's important that, and more official support for accessibility in terms of technology or training, as you said before, orientation mobility training, braille, computer training. I think this is really needed to train blind people in an official and professional way. I think those would be my wishes, really.
Thank you very much for the interview. Das war José Pepe Macias aus Mexiko. Und wenn ihr dieses Interview noch einmal auf Deutsch nachlesen wollt, so findet ihr es in Kürze auch in unseren Blogs unter blindlife.de und christian-ohrens.de.